have what we affectionately call the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet. And you brought up sugar and not knowing what it's in. It's because the food industry has, they're evil. They come up with 50 different names for sugar, and
yes.
it's not
high fructose corn syrup.
Well, not even just that. I mean, I could literally give you a list of gibberish that sounds like it came out of a Harry Potter book. And you're like, that's sugar? I never would have thought that was sugar. And so, they do their best to rename things. Even natural flavors is not natural flavors. It is a chemical that they named natural flavors. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not natural flavors.
Wow.
They would name the flavors if they were actual FDA? Flavors. I mean, FDA doesn't.
It's absurd.
So, I mean, FDA is Food and Drug Administration, and they don't care. Like they could care less. Half of them have stock in some of these companies.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah.
And so it does, like you said, take some navigating. And I've enjoyed Mark Hyman's wife. Her name's Mia Lux, I believe. And she's a comedian, actually. So an integrative nutritional comedian. It's really, she's really funny. And
can you find her on YouTube, or where do you see her stuff?
You can. Now, just keep in mind, I'm trying to remember where she's from, either Ireland, I want to say Ireland, and so, or New Zealand. And so she does use a few choice words.
Sure.
And that you don't want to say in church, right? So, but she does this really funny bit about how they really should, they mislabel things here. So for instance, the grass-fed beef, the first time she came to the US, she was like, Mark, what's grass-fed beef? And he's like, well, cows that eat grass. And she's like, that's all they eat. And he's like, no, honey, here they're fed literal SHIT. Like they're fed that, and corn and steroids and all this, like even chopped up other cows, and so, she said, well, the food industry needs to, be subjected to a relabeling, where that meat needs to be labeled as such and be like, yeah, you can have a really cheap piece of meat that was fed all this stuff, and here's the label. And then this other grass-fed beef should just be called beef.
Right, exactly.
And so, you're right. It's frustrating in our day and age because there is so much corruption and, deceitfulness.
Yep.
And you're right. It's hard to navigate. I'm really hoping for something more for our children.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, one can dream, but also that's not going to fix anything. Like dreaming isn't going to fix it. Like enough of people wanting the change and taking action is what's going to fix it. And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot more awareness with this stuff now than there was 20 years ago. So if we can continue on that trajectory.
I don't know. I don't know if we're the minority though. I don't know if the majority of the United States is aware, or I guess the new term is woke.
Right.
To what's really happening. You have to have a critical eye that understands the way that the world works. And that's painful to realize for some people. I think some people would prefer to not live in that reality.
Yep.
And I don't blame them.
Sure.
But it's too late for me, maybe too late for you.
Right. Yeah. How about, as it relates to leaky gut, if someone doesn't feel good after they eat 80% of the time, 70% of the time, is it maybe because they have a leaky gut, or because they're eating foods that they are sensitive to or allergic to? Yeah.
So a little bit of those terminologies are the same thing. Leaky gut creates, remember, that environment to where that food can pass that membrane and then the immune system reacts to it. And so, yes, part of healing a leaky gut is identifying the foods that a person has become sensitive to and allergic to, and you eliminate them for a time. And that time is different for everybody. Some people only need a couple months. Some people need a couple years. to avoid those foods and do the things that I had said, like the probiotics to digestive enzymes, the collagen, and the rebuilding of that microbiome to where they can add those foods in moderation again.
Okay.
And so, we're creatures of habit. So a lot of people that I test I find them that they're sensitive and allergic to either the top 12 or top 20 things that I test for.
Mm-hmm.
And work with a really great company that does not cost an arm and a leg. It's $5 per food, which I really feel like is very fair. I've had people come from all over states to me that have been, oh my gosh, spent thousands of dollars on these tests. And I'm like, why? Why is this? This is a very simple blood test. So $5 per food is I think reasonable, and we can get at least a good picture into your gut, and if you are reacting to a lot of things or you're not. And so if you test for the top 12 things that people are, generally allergic to and sensitive to, and you don't test positive for any of them, there's no point in testing for, a couple hundred different other things.
Right. Yep.
So I like working with them. They kind of remind me of Albert Einstein. They're two older gentlemen that are very, very smart. And their names are Gary and Jay. And boy, do they care about our patients quite a bit. So,
and they do the testing.
They do the testing in a small little lab in Franklin, and they have thousands of patients, and you would never think their technology fits into the small building that they're in.
Really?
But it does, and it's very neat.
So somewhere in Franklin, Tennessee is Gary and Jay, a couple of older Albert Einsteins, collecting all these blood samples from all over America or maybe even the world, and doing their little magic to it, and then letting you know what they're allergic to.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're incredible dudes. And we always go out and they teach us something new and treat us to lunch, and they're great guys. They're just wonderful.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I need to have Gary and Jay on the podcast.
Yeah. Their company's called Allermetrics.
Okay.
And I've used them for 5 years now, and really do love the results that patients get when we test with them.
This other one you mentioned, maximizegenetics.com, is that something that people go to the website and send in a sample, or do they need to go through you?
They can do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay. What are they sending in?
They're sending a cheek swab.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets enough of the DNA to figure out what's...
Yeah.
Golly.
Yep.
You can tell what's going on with someone's body by taking a little saliva from your cheek.
Yeah. Well, you're getting their cells. You're getting their cells off of the cheek, which is your DNA.
Okay.
And your DNA never changes. So what's nice about these results is that these results are going to stick with you for life. Mm-hmm. Whereas the allergy sensitivity test, I mean, that can change depending on what has happened in your life, if you've done some gut healing or not. They recommend not testing for allergies and sensitivities any sooner than 3 years apart. So, because it does take that amount of time to really make a difference or make a change.
Yep.
But as far as the DNA, it's a one-time deal, and it'll never change.